Dear brother, I hope this letter finds you well. What I'm about to tell you might change the way you look at me from now on, but trust me when I say that I have no one else to turn to in this matter, and that hopefully you know me well enough to know that I wouldn't deceive you. I have witnessed something that after this letter to you I will never speak of again. 2 weeks ago I was walking home late at night, never mind where I had been or with whom, but it was late and I was alone. Once I was by the house I thought I heard a noise by the back porch. You know I'm not one to be spooked easily, but I am no match for someone who wishes to overpower me, so I hurried inside and locked behind me. I ran over to the back door to make sure it was safely locked. It was not. I am absolutely sure I locked. It always gives me a bit of hassle, you see. I just know I locked it. I made sure nothing had been moved, touched or broken inside the house. I felt it was too late to call on someone, so I wrote it off as me being forgetful and went to bed. Once under the cover, I felt something was wrong. The mattress was completely soaked right underneath my backside. I shot out of bed and undressed it in a hurry. It smelt of urine. What was worse was that it was still warm. That night I had no choice but to sleep inside the bathroom, afraid of every shadow and every sound made by house or wind. You may call me a damn fool, brother, for not reporting this to the authorities. But what was I supposed to say? I believe someone wet my bed while I wasn't home. They would have laughed at me. The more I thought about the situation, the more I convinced myself that an animal must have gotten in. I was right, to a point. The following days things went back to normal. Nothing out of the ordinary happened and I was able to make my rounds at the hospital, come home at a reasonable hour, and trust me, I always made sure to lock the door. When I woke up early Saturday morning on the 3rd, the week after this incident, I was sitting by the kitchen table having a cup of coffee when I had a sudden urge to check on the back door. I turned the knob and it opened. I ran from room to room, checking on sofas, chairs, and carpets, in closets and under tables. I felt something was with me. Come to think of it now, I don't know why I kept searching. Because what if I had found what was in there? What if it had found me? Clearly, I wasn't thinking. It wasn't until I was back at my table, tiredly letting my eyes scan the kitchen, that I noticed scratch marks by the basement door. Long, uneven marks leaving the door splintered and cracked. I did hesitate 1 and 2 times before opening the door. Yes, I admit that I again showed a lack of judgment, but I wasn't going to go down and explore the basement alone. I just wanted to open a small crack in the door and peek. The smell overcame me and I had to run outside to vomit. I ran across the field to my neighbor's house and found him by the road mending his fence. I told him about the animal, but I left out details on an animal that could open locked doors and who visits to urinate over my bed. He brought his hunting rifle and followed me to the house. I didn't dare follow him inside, and instead, I stood outside like a statue a safe distance away. When he returned, he looked puzzled and apologetic. He couldn't find any animal and pointed out that when I ran to fetch him I must have left the door open and whatever it was had gotten back out. Nothing to worry about, he said. Happens all the time. I felt ashamed of my cowardice and decided to bring down father's rifle from the attic and keep it with me at all times. I changed the lock on the door. I mended the broken basement door with a plywood board and I washed the mattress a good 3 times before returning it to the bedroom. The day after, I had a late shift at the hospital, and feeling a bit scared and vulnerable after past events, I asked around for someone to walk me home. No one was going my way and everyone seemed to have an excuse. I was getting more and more desperate, so I began asking people I didn't know very well. The new janitor overheard me and offered his service as soon as he was done for the night. I gladly waited the extra hour and felt happy someone had taken pity on me. The walk home was more than a little strained. He was very intense, asking me a lot of personal questions, wanting to hold my hand, and is quite intrusive. I felt I had myself to blame since I had asked a male stranger to walk me home, and perhaps I had given him ideas that I was a different sort of girl for doing so. As we came closer to the house, he began to pull me to him. He wanted a kiss for his troubles. He leaned in, and when I pushed him back he became more aggressive. I, who had spent weeks fearing an animal entering my house, was about to be attacked by a beast I myself had invited. He had me pinned down on the ground while he ripped and tore into my clothes. I laid almost fully exposed to him, feeling his tongue and teeth on my breasts and stomach. Slobbering, panting. Suddenly I heard a sound from the shadows. I could smell that foul odor again. The beast, too busy to tug away at my underwear, noticed nothing. The sound kept growing louder, reverberating against the tall trees. I stopped breathing as I saw a man, not an animal, walk out from the darkness on his hands and legs and baring his teeth. With a few climbs towards us, he leapt up and sank his teeth into the back of my attacker. I am unsure of what I saw next, but I will try to account for the event even though my mind desperately wants to repress it. The man, naked and dirty, ripped away at the flesh of his victim. He chewed and growled as he tore pieces off in frenzy. The man didn't stand a chance. The screams were unbearable, and yet I only sat there, frozen in my place. Blood was spattering down my torn clothes and dripped down my naked skin. The sound and sight of a man being eaten alive will forever haunt me. I sat there for a long time before I found the strength and sanity to pull myself away and move towards the house. I crawled up on the porch and reached the door. It was locked. I have no recollection what happened after this, but I woke up in my own bed, tucked down under the sheets and covers. I wanted it so badly to be a nightmare, but the blood on my dress that hung in pieces around me would not let me forget even for a minute. I got out of my clothes and into a robe, then stepped outside on the porch. I don't know what I was expecting to see, a bonfire? Bones neatly stacked in a pile? Have body parts strewn over the lawn? There was nothing. I heard a breathing by the bushes along the porch. I walked over and stretched my hand out in the darkness. I found a naked patch of skin, warm and sticky. I patted it slowly. It breathed heavily, shook, and then it was gone. I held my hand up to the light from the kitchen window. My hand was covered in blood. I wiped it on my robe, went back inside and slept for 2 whole days. It's now been a few days since and no one has come to visit me. I have called in sick from work and there has been no news in the paper about a missing janitor. I am not afraid anymore. I believe I now know the true nature of the beast. I needed to get this off my chest. I witnessed a man die in one of the most gruesome ways thought to man, and yet I feel nothing for him. Perhaps the best in all of this is I. My dear brother, I love you dearly. Forgive me and please do not reply to this letter and do not pass this forward.